Here's 5 facts about trusts. Today, I'm answering 5 questions that you've asked about trusts and whether you need one and how do they work. So let's start with, what is a trust anyway? It's simply a legal agreement where one person, the trustee, holds and manages assets for the benefit of another person. That person's called the beneficiary. So it's just an agreement between the person who creates the trust to name a trustee to hold assets for the benefit of the beneficiary. It's like a container that helps protect and distribute assets according to specific instructions. Where do you get a trust from? An estate planning attorney, an attorney who is specializing specifically and focusing directly on creating wills and trusts, healthcare directives, powers of attorney, ideally from a heart-centered and counseling-oriented perspective, is the best place to get a trust from, because there's so many decisions that need to go into creating a trust and creating that agreement. And it is so important because it governs everything about how your assets are handled if you become incapacitated or when you die, that it doesn't really make sense for you to rely on a do-it-yourself form or an online kit. In many ways, that's a recipe for disaster and will create a horror story or a nightmare for the people that you love. And if you don't know exactly what those look like, make sure you follow me, because I've got some horror plan stories to tell you so that you don't leave your family with a big mess. So how much does it cost? Well, the cost will vary depending on the type of trust that you're getting, how complex or how simple it is. Is it irrevocable, meaning it can create asset protection right now, or revocable, meaning it creates asset protection after you die? See, a trust itself really should be part of a larger plan, not just one standalone document. So if you're going to a lawyer or creating a do-it-yourself type situation and you're buying a trust, well, you're not actually getting what you need. Now, most trust-based estate plans, if they're done right, are going to cost in the range of between $4,000 and $6,000 or $6,000 and $8,000 or more, because there's a lot of counseling that needs to go into the decision-making process. Now, when you work with a lawyer, ideally you're working with that lawyer to help you to look at your assets, look at your family dynamics, look at the law, and how all of that will work together to create the outcome of what will happen after you become incapacitated or when you die. And from there, you will choose the right fee for your plan. And maybe you don't even need a trust. That's part of what goes into that consideration with your lawyer. What is the right plan for me, and what is the right fee for my budget? And then what about maintenance fees? Well, again, this depends on who is your attorney. How are you working with that attorney? See, a trust or an estate plan in general is not one size fits all. It's not set it and forget it. You're going to need to update your plan over time. Your life changes. Your assets change. The law changes. And so ideally, you're working with a lawyer who has a flat fee program where you pay monthly or annually for your trust or your estate plan as a whole to be reviewed and looked at, your assets to be inventoried and documented, and any changes to your plan made. And that happens every year, year in and year out, and you're paying one affordable fee for that to happen. And again, just remember, this fee that you're paying is the thing that is going to make sure that things are as easy as possible and as inexpensive as possible for the people you love when something happens to you. What do I tell the IRS? You don't need to tell the IRS anything if you have a revocable trust. A revocable trust doesn't do anything for tax purposes. It has your social security number until you die, at which point it becomes irrevocable. If you create a trust that is irrevocable, it will have its own tax ID number, and then you'll file a tax return just like you would for yourself, because now your trust is a whole separate entity and it files a tax return with the IRS. But if you're just creating a regular old revocable living trust as part of your overall estate plan, the IRS doesn't need to know anything about it.